Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. This time, we're going to be tackling Nikola Tesla and his pursuit of free energy.
Oh, yeah, this will be good.
Yeah, it's a pretty fascinating topic, and, a little controversial. We've gotten a bunch of requests from our listeners to cover this. You guys sent in some great excerpts from a book called The Day Free Energy Died, which explores this whole idea, so let's get into it.
Sounds good. This is intriguing because we're talking about a guy who totally revolutionized the way that we even use electricity.
Yeah.
I mean, alternating current, right? That powers like the entire world today.
Yeah, that's amazing.
But Tesla also dreamed of something even bigger. He wanted to provide free wireless energy to every single person on the planet.
It's crazy to think about, like, a world with no energy bills. Like a world where energy just flows freely, like the air we breathe.
Yeah.
But, like, if it's even scientifically possible, why hasn't it happened yet?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
To understand why Tesla's vision never actually materialized, we got to kind of dig into this scientific and historical context of his work.
For sure. The book actually mentions Tesla's super unique approach to invention. He could visualize and, like, perfect these complex devices, like, completely in his mind before ever, like, writing anything down.
Really?
Oh, yeah. It's pretty wild. He once said that he would build and operate his inventions mentally and, making improvements along the way and, like, ensuring every part fit perfectly before ever even starting construction.
Wow.
And get this, he claimed that this method never failed him once in 30 years.
He was clearly a brilliant guy. Like, there's no doubt about that.
Totally.
But how did that brilliance translate to his pursuit of free energy? What did he even mean by free energy?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for Tesla, free energy, it wasn't about generating power in the, like, conventional sense. He thought it was totally possible to just harness the natural energy that exists all around us. And he called this energy the ether. Yeah, and he described it as, like, the very fabric of the universe from which all matter is derived.
Okay, so ether is a pretty loaded term. Especially since, like, modern science has kind of moved away from that concept. Did he ever, like, clarify what he actually meant by it?
He did, yeah. He sometimes used terms like Earth resonance or standing waves to kind of describe this energy. And he believed the Earth was like this giant conductor pulsating with electrical vibrations. And, these could be tapped into and transmitted wirelessly through the upper atmosphere.
So instead of burning coal or splitting atoms, he wanted to just tap into the natural energy of the Earth itself.
Exactly. It's a pretty wild concept. But how did he plan to achieve this?
That's where his most ambitious project comes in. Wardenclyffe Tower.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, while it was initially funded by J.P. Morgan for transatlantic wireless communication, Tesla saw it as a stepping stone to achieving his grand vision of, global wireless power.
The tower itself sounds like something straight out of, like, a science fiction novel.
Oh, totally.
It was 186 feet tall, with a shaft extending 120 feet deep, and, like, a whole network of iron pipes driven even further into the ground to, like, grip the Earth and harness its energy. So did he succeed? Did Tesla succeed in transmitting free energy?
Unfortunately, no. Wardenclyffe was just riddled with financial difficulties right from the start. Construction costs just, like, drained Morgan's initial investment, and Tesla's requests for more funding were denied.
There's a part in the book where Tesla writes to Morgan, pleading with him not to let his great work almost complete go to pots.
Wow.
But Morgan refused, saying he lacked interest in any further investment. It makes you wonder if he just, like, didn't get the magnitude of what Tesla was trying to do, or maybe he saw free energy as a threat to his own, like, business interests.
It's a really good question. Morgan was known for taking calculated risks on new technologies. But with this, he seemed hesitant to support Tesla's vision. Maybe the concept was just too radical for a businessman, who was focused on tangible profits.
Yeah, that makes sense. So while Tesla's struggling to fund Wardenclyffe, Guglielmo Marconi is achieving success with his own, like, wireless communication technology. And the book actually points out that Marconi used a lot of Tesla's patents in his work.
He did.
Yeah, even though he's the one who's often credited as, like, the father of radio.
It's interesting how that happens, right? Like, sometimes the most groundbreaking ideas aren't the ones that get the recognition or, like, the financial success immediately.
Yeah.
It's often the people who can adapt and commercialize existing technologies who end up reaping the rewards.
So true. So while Marconi's star was on the rise, Tesla's dream was falling apart. The book describes the end of Wardenclyffe Tower as pretty tragic. It was demolished by dynamite on July 4th, 1917, and its steel was sold for scrap. It's almost symbolic, like the death knell for this incredible vision of a world powered by free energy.
The demolition of Wardenclyffe was more than just the failure of a single project, though. It was a turning point in the history of energy, like a time when a potentially world-changing technology was deemed too expensive and impractical to pursue.
Tesla said some pretty powerful things after the tower was destroyed. He talked about a faint-hearted, doubting world that wasn't ready to be led by those with a keen, searching sense.
Wow.
It seems like he felt deeply misunderstood and betrayed by a society that just couldn't grasp the potential of his ideas.
That's got to be tough.
Totally. But despite this huge setback with Wardenclyffe, he never gave up on his belief in free energy. He kept writing about it, lecturing about it, and even got a patent for transmitting electrical energy through the natural mediums. He was convinced it was totally doable.
So if Tesla was so sure that free energy could work, why hasn't it become a reality? Was it purely scientific? Or are there other things at play here?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that's what we're going to explore in the next part of our deep dive. We'll dig into the potential scientific basis for free energy, the arguments against it, and the idea that maybe some knowledge has been purposely suppressed to protect the powers that be.
Oh, that's going to be good. I'm excited to dig into that. So welcome back to our deep dive into the world of Nikola Tesla and this whole idea of free energy.
Before the break, we were talking about the fall of Wardenclyffe Tower and Tesla's belief that, we could harness all this natural energy that's around us.
Yeah, it's a story of, ambition and potential,
Totally. But before we get into, why free energy hasn't happened yet, I think it's important to, step back. What did Tesla even mean by free energy? Was it just about getting rid of electricity bills, or was there something more to it?
Oh, it was way more than that. He imagined a world where energy poverty would be totally eradicated.
Wow.
And where clean energy was available everywhere, powering homes and industries and transportation without needing fossil fuels or big power grids.
So it was more about access to energy for everyone?
Exactly, making it a right, not a commodity controlled by corporations or governments.
It sounds kind of utopian, but was there, any science behind it?
That's where things get tricky. Tesla's understanding of physics was revolutionary for his time, but it's different from how we see it today. He talked a lot about tapping into the ether.
Right, the ether. We touched on that a little bit. It's kind of associated with old scientific theories.
Yeah.
Can you, unpack that a bit? What did he mean by it, and how does it relate to free energy?
So Tesla described the ether as this universal medium that's everywhere in space. It carries electromagnetic waves and connects everything. He believed that if we could tap into this medium, we could transmit energy wirelessly over huge distances.
So instead of, generating electricity the way we do now, he wanted to harness energy that's already in the ether and use that to power our stuff.
Exactly.
That's pretty wild. Did he, propose any methods for how to do this?
He did, and this is where it gets super interesting.
Okay.
He thought that by creating resonant circuits and using the Earth's natural electrical properties, we could amplify and transmit energy wirelessly. He also explored standing waves, these stationary waves of energy we could tap into for power.
Is there any evidence that his theories were, sound?
Well, Tesla was a brilliant experimenter.
Right.
And he did tons of experiments to show wireless power transmission, but on a much smaller scale than, Wardenclyffe Tower. A lot of his ideas were based on a different understanding of physics than what we have today.
So maybe the vision was there, but the science wasn't quite there yet.
It's hard to say. Some people argue his ideas were flawed, while others think his work has been misunderstood or even suppressed.
The book talks about the possibility that Tesla's research was suppressed by people who were afraid of it. It threatened the existing power structures. What do you think?
That's a popular theory, especially for people who believe free energy is real and being hidden from us. Tesla's vision would have definitely shaken things up in the energy industry, and maybe even challenged the whole economic and political landscape.
But couldn't it also just be that free energy isn't actually possible on a big scale? Maybe the science just doesn't work that way, no matter how smart Tesla was.
That's a fair point. While he showed wireless power transmission in small experiments, doing it for whole cities or the world, that's a huge challenge.
So it's kind of a paradox, right? We have Tesla, who's totally convinced free energy is possible, and he's got these groundbreaking experiments and patents. But then we also have the limits of what we understand about science today and no real proof that free energy can actually work on a large scale.
Exactly. That tension between what's possible and what's practical, that's at the core of this whole free energy debate.
And it's a debate that often gets clouded by, like, conspiracy theories and misinformation.
Totally. Makes it hard to separate fact from fiction.
So how do we figure this out? How do we know if free energy is real or just a dream?
That's what we'll explore in the last part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We'll look at Tesla's legacy, the research being done today on alternative energy, and what a world with free energy would even look like, ethically and socially.
It's going to be interesting. Can't wait. So, welcome back to our deep dive into Nikola Tesla's search for free energy.
Yeah, we've talked about a lot, from his incredible mind to the sad end of Wardenclyffe Tower.
But maybe the biggest question is what happened to all of his research after he died back in 1943?
Yeah, it's like shrouded in mystery.
Totally.
The book actually mentions that Tesla's nephew went to his hotel room right after his death, and get this, his body was already gone. And a lot of his papers, they were missing.
Seriously?
Yeah, so some people think the government took them. Maybe they were scared of what that research could mean.
It does sound kind of like a spy movie, right? A genius scientist dies, his work disappears. But is there anything to back that up? Like, any real proof the government took his stuff?
Well, the missing papers definitely add to the mystery, but there's no hard evidence that the government was involved.
Right.
Some of his work might have been lost or destroyed over time, or maybe there's still some classified documents out there. We just don't know. It's important to stick to the facts,
Absolutely. So instead of going down the conspiracy theory rabbit hole, let's stick with what we know for sure. Tesla left behind this incredible legacy of innovation that still impacts us today.
Oh, for sure. I mean, alternating current, it powers everything. And his early work in radio and wireless communication, that laid the foundation for so much technology we use every day. His influence is everywhere.
Yeah, it's amazing. The book includes some of Fiorello LaGuardia's eulogy for Tesla. It's pretty beautiful. He calls Tesla a great humanitarian who did amazing, miraculous things during his life, simply to serve mankind, and for his services, he didn't want anything.
That's incredible.
Right.
It really shows how selfless he was.
Totally.
He wasn't motivated by money or fame, but by this deep desire to use his knowledge to help people. That's what makes him so inspiring.
As we wrap up our deep dive, I can't stop thinking about that main question. Was free energy even a real possibility, or was it just a dream that couldn't come true?
It's a question that scientists and engineers are still trying to figure out.
Yeah.
Tesla's vision was based on a different way of understanding physics, but his idea of using the natural energy around us is still super compelling.
Yeah.
Maybe his methods wouldn't work on a large scale, but his work has inspired so much research into new energy technologies.
Right.
Who knows, maybe someday we'll find a way to tap into the Earth's energy or discover some other clean, abundant energy source that could change everything.
That would be incredible.
Tesla's legacy reminds us that real innovation often means challenging the way we think and pushing the limits of what's considered possible. Even if his dream of free energy hasn't come true yet, his spirit of curiosity and determination is something we can all learn from.
Absolutely. So that's our deep dive into the world of Nikola Tesla and his pursuit of free energy. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I think the big takeaway here is that Tesla's story shows us the importance of bold thinking, being curious, and using what we know to make the world a better place. Those are things we need now more than ever.
I love that. And to our listeners, keep exploring Tesla's world and the search for sustainable energy. Keep your minds open, and remember, the future is ours to create. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for listening.